Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's Quantum Spark session. This is our 20-minute micro sessions designed to offer you a perfect boost for the week. This week, we're going to be talking about Karmic Capital, how energy, integrity, and intention shape your life, your business, and your destiny. As always, knowledge is only potential. So some people say knowledge is power. It's really potential power. And I offer this reminder at the beginning of each program because I want to make sure you have a pen and paper or somewhere where you can take notes. So after you leave the program, you can intentionally go and execute on some of the ideas that we're sharing today. So let's get to it. We're talking about karma. Karma is the universal law of cause and effect. It states that every thought, intention, or intent and action generates energy that will eventually return to its source. It is not punishment or reward. It is just energetic reciprocity. Some people think that it is like an eye for an eye, and that is not what it is. This is not about a punishment or reward. It is about mirroring, that you will get back from the universe that which you put out into the universe. So let's talk about the karmic equation. What are all the pieces that go into karma? And first, we have what I consider the most important, and that is intent. The why behind an action is more karmically significant than the action itself. So, for example, a harmful act done with malice carries a different karmic weight than one done out of ignorance. By the way, this is all the same in our legal system, that intent matters a great deal when it comes to our legal system. And when something is planned to be harmful, it's very different than like negligence, for example. So intent sets the direction of karmic flow. Intent matters. So we'll talk more about this, but when putting anything out into the world, whether it be even a social media post, think carefully about what is the intent. What are you trying to deliver to the world? Is the intent that you want to make yourself feel better? Or is the intent that you're putting information out that can help somebody? Next part of the karmic equation is action. What is actually done through words, behaviors, choices, or omissions leaves an energetic mark. Action is the physical or spoken manifestation of inside energy. And thoughts rooted in jealousy, fear, hatred, or arrogance carry a different energetic charge than thoughts of love, compassion, or truth. Repeated thought patterns end up shaping your karmic frequency. Next, emotion. Emotions attached to actions or experiences like guilt or resentment or pride, they embed themselves into our karmic field. So suppressed emotions, if they're not transmuted, may create a karmic residue. Emotions fuel the depth and the density of the karmic imprint. Just letting a couple more people in. Awareness or lack of awareness. The level of consciousness behind a choice matters. So ignorance does not erase karma, but conscious awareness of what you're doing refines karma. Repeating a pattern unconsciously can build a karmic debt, whereas facing it consciously begins to dissolve that debt. So awareness determines whether karma is created, repeated, or released. And then last, reaction or response. How one handles the consequences of their past action also generates karma. So when you respond with humility, repair, and alignment that dissolves karmic debt, while responding with denial or blame or resistance ends up compounding karmic debt. Karma teaches through feedback, and response creates the next layer of karma. So that's really important. The way karma works, it is a boomerang. What you put out into the world comes back to you. And so karma, in the same way, teaches us we grow through our feedback, what karma brings back to us, which is exactly what we put out. And our response to that determines whether we're going to continue to loop around and keep having to go through the same lessons over and over, or are we going to respond with humility and repair and alignment so that we can resolve that karmic debt and move on in our lessons? So the total equation, the karmic equation, karma equals intent plus action plus thought plus emotion plus awareness plus response. Each element leaves a subtle or a strong vibrational trace, and the universe, in its needing to balance, ends up mirroring it back across time, space, and lifetime until a harmony or balance is restored. Karma is the energetic feedback loop between the self and the universe. It is life showing an individual what they need to see or feel or understand in order to grow into who they truly are. So, important to note that karma is not moral or emotional. It simply is a balancing of energy. Karma, again, is not about punishment or reward. It is about impact. So every intention and action sends energy outward, and that energy creates ripples through individuals, societies, and the universe. Every action or inaction, because don't forget, inaction is action. So every action or inaction sets something into motion in the world. That is why everything is the cause of everything. Everything is interconnected. So every action you take, or inaction, which is the same thing, does set things into motion in the world. Karma is also cumulative, so it can build over time, shaping patterns and lessons. How karma builds in your life has all to do with your response mechanism. When you put something out into the world, it will eventually come back to you. And how you respond to it determines whether the same karma is going to continue to accumulate. And karma is a wonderful teacher. It delivers the exact experience needed for spiritual growth and awareness. It is a mirror. So life reflects back the energy that you put into it, and it's going to reflect it back often through the relationships, the challenges, or the recurring circumstances. What's really interesting in our business is that oftentimes the customers that we attract specifically speak to a lesson that we may have to learn in our own business or life. So when you perhaps are dealing with maybe a client that is a little more difficult, or a transaction has a particular challenge, think about what could the lesson within this be that karma wants me to learn. Let's go back to intent for a minute, because this is, as I said, one of the more important pieces. First of all, the entire karmic equation is really important, but intent is extra important. Intent is not invisible. So what's tricky about intent is that it's really difficult to know what somebody else's intent is. It's important for us to always know what our own intent is. an awareness around our own intent. That takes thoughtfulness, and that's not always easy in a world where we're constantly on the move with lots of noise and distraction. It's super important to, before you take action, before you send an email to somebody, before you make a social media post, before you have an important conversation, that you think for a moment and have an awareness around what is the intent, my intent behind the conversation, because my intent will influence the karma that I put out into the world. So intent always exists. It's just when it comes to other people, we usually don't know what their intent is. We hope that it's good. But with ourselves, we have to be hyper vigilant and always aware around what is the intent when we are speaking or interacting or making choices. Even actions that look identical on the surface create different karmic energy depending on the motivation, the intent behind them. In other words, the universe does not respond to what you do, it responds to why you do it. It's responding to your intent. So sometimes if something does not go right for you, try to think back about, was there a misalignment of intent that could have caused the response that you ended up with? Because again, the universe is not responding to your action, it's responding to why you did that action. So, for example, when it comes to giving, when you give, think about why you are giving. Are you giving out of compassion, or are you giving for yourself? Are you giving because it makes you feel good to give? There's two different karmic footprints here, because one is giving for compassion is an energy that is truly about helping somebody else, caring and helping somebody else, whereas giving for the sole purpose of making yourself feel better or superior is a totally different impact, because it is for yourself. It's more selfish. And that's not to say selfishness is a bad thing at all times, but it's two different karmic imprints. So think about intent in all choices, in all actions. Integrity is the alignment. And the reason I want to talk about integrity, because I included it in the subtext of today's class. And what's interesting is karma is integrity. Integrity is an alignment between what someone thinks, feels, says, and does. That's how we typically think integrity is like that person has integrity because when they say something, they follow through with it. Well, that's karma as well. Karma is alignment. And it plays out through time, experience, and consequences. Karma is integrity, because at the end of the day, there will always be a balancing through karma. Both integrity and karma are all about alignment, that what you think and feel and do is aligned with what you say you think and feel and do. So I want to talk for just a moment about the first, second, and third order effects of karma. Because the reason why karma is so important is because it's not just about you. Of course, you affect your own karma, but you're also affecting other people's lives in the process of that karmic footprint. And there's almost like a domino effect. By the way, any choice you make, any decision you make, any action you make, the behavior you put out into the universe, all of that creates a domino effect. It affects more than what you could possibly imagine. First, you have the first order effects. So that just means that there are direct outcomes of the actions you take. Your first order effects are how, for example, your words impact somebody emotionally, for example, or whether your choices cause immediate harm or immediate healing to somebody, or whether your business exchange or is clean or extractive. Like, you have direct outcomes of the decisions you make all day long. The ones that you can see, the ones that you can predict, that the influence you have through a conversation with somebody or an interaction with somebody. But then there's second order effects as well. So, for example, and we'll come back to this in a minute, let's just say, for example, some of the decisions that you make, you might not even realize the second and third and fourth order effects that decision has created. And I'm going to give you just a tiny one little one. And let's just say that you're constantly, let's just say you had a really bad year in real estate, that things aren't going your way, you're not selling a lot, and you're constantly boasting on social media about how well you're doing in business, that everything is roses, everything is perfect, you're selling a ton of real estate. And to you, you might look at it, well, I'm just trying to generate business. I want people to think I'm doing well. You might not realize that second and third order effects of your posts and how they're impacting other people. Maybe there's another real estate agent out there who's watching you and saying, wow, look how busy that person is, and I'm having a hard time, and they quit. They make decisions because of what they're seeing, the decision you made to go post information that is an untruth. So now you have other people making decisions in their own lives based on something that was not genuine to begin with. So a positive or a negative act that you do can inspire others to act, and the people who act, you may never have met them or know who they are or even realize that they're looking. But because of your action, it has inspired another action that you're not even aware of. So there's second and third order effects, both good and bad, by the way. I gave an example of a bad way in which somebody makes a decision, but it's really important to understand that when you make a decision or to say something, that your choices affect more than you and the direct beneficiary of the choice. It has multiple effects. Not only that, your energy doesn't just affect people, it reshapes energetic fields. The universe records all intentions, and energy is never lost. It is only transformed. So your frequency becomes part of the collective field. So every act becomes part of this evolving karmic web. So let's talk for just a second about what is karmic debt. A karmic debt is an energetic imbalance caused by harmful actions, even where the harm is unintentional. So you put something out in the world that creates harm. And again, it doesn't have to be an intentional harm, although there's different levels of karma. It's much worse if you intentionally or have intent behind putting harm out there. An individual who operates from truth, service, and alignment is never going to need to chase success. It gets magnetized to you because what is built is in integrity is supported by the universe. Karmic debt creation. A real estate agent can create karmic debt by engaging in actions, behaviors, or energy exchanges that are out of alignment with truth, integrity, or the highest good, even if those actions are legal or socially acceptable. Hey, everybody's bragging about stuff on social media. It's not a big deal if I fudge my numbers and put my fudged numbers out on social media. Everybody does that. It's socially acceptable, some would argue, in our business. You're creating karmic debt because other people potentially are making decisions based on that information you're putting out there. So karmic debt isn't about breaking a law. It's about violating energy laws of honesty, respect, intention, etc. So some of the ways in which karmic debt is created is when intent is misleading. So when you're putting information out that could be misleading, it's all going to come back to you because you're creating a debt to the universe. You owe the universe, you really owe yourself for this because this is a lesson that will have to come back to you if you're putting that out there. If you're doing something misleading, it is going to come back to you. So it's because it's the lesson you have to learn. If you're doing things out of greed, that when you're looking at a transaction, if you're immediately focusing, like calculating your commission as soon as you meet a new customer, your intent is off. You're focusing on the monetary piece, the money that you're making rather than helping the client. Seeking recognition over truth can create karmic debt. Building a business based on ego rather than service. Taking more than what you give. So emotionally, financially, spiritually. Even giving excessively in order to control. So maybe you're giving to somebody, you're giving extra of yourself to someone, but the intent behind it is that you can control this person. You're creating a karmic debt, creating debt in others. If you are doing things that create guilt in other people or obligation in other people, potentially you are creating karmic debt and it's going to come back as a lesson to you. This one's really important, and this one is tricky. So one thing to think about when you are thinking about how karma works is when you are giving validation or approval to people around you. When you validate or approve harmful, dishonest, or distorted behavior, you can end up becoming an energetic cosigner of that action. This doesn't just impact the person doing the behavior, it implicates the one who affirmed it. So let's just say there's somebody in your business that's doing bad stuff and you're indifferent to it, or you don't pay attention to it, or you just condone it on the outside and you do nothing about it. By affirming somebody else's, when you know somebody else's bad behavior is hurting people, then you become the energetic cosigner of the debt just by openly approving them. So karma is not just created by what you do, but it is also created by what you energetically support. When you, from the outside, are giving validation to something that is happening around you, saying, oh, it's okay, it's not my problem, so I'll just say, hey, good job, go for it. That you're creating bad karma for yourself. Of course, the person who's doing it is creating their own karmic issues. But think about that not only is it the actions you take, but when you're validating and approving other actions around you or other people, you're creating karmic debt as well. So how can we create a karmically positive business? One, transparency and truth telling, operating for service over self-gain, like truly just going out to help people, having clean energy exchanges. In other words, totally fine to make a lot of money in this business, but you got to earn it. You got to give the value, and value given equals get value received. You are karmic neutral. You're fine. Building systems with integrity, not exploiting, and treating every client, vendor, and team member as a soul and not as just a transaction. Always honor time, energy, and agreements. Release clients or offers that don't feel aligned with you. Constantly reflect and ask yourself, what is my intent? Avoid shortcuts that cost long-term integrity. Practice radical responsibility when mistakes happen. Practice clean money practices. So like, you don't want to create guilt. You don't want to manipulate people. You don't want to create systems where where you're giving, for example, for the wrong reasons, maybe to have control over somebody. And then think about client selection with discernment. So, in other words, don't enter into professional relationships that feel like you're repeating past lessons. Don't say yes to things out of guilt or scarcity or because you want to get validated. So don't say yes because I want to be validated, so I'll go along with this. It's okay to walk away from clients who entangle you in drama or manipulation or just energy imbalance in general. And then finally, when a business is built in alignment, it becomes a blessing for you. Not only is it a blessing for you, it's a blessing for the people that you touch. It becomes a blessing for the entire community. And that is how you can build a successful real estate business. For all of our past Quantum Sparks classes, you can go to lairrealty.com/quantum sparks as well. This afternoon we'll include this class at that link. As well, we'll include the slides in case you want to go review slides or take notes. And if there's anything you're dealing with in your own business or your own life and you want us to cover it in a future Quantum Sparks, go to lairrealty.com/ask anything. Thanks, everyone.